Hello and welcome, this is Cheryl. Thank you so much for joining me today. In this video, I'm going to use the Butterfly Swirl Betterpress plate, but before I do that, I wanted to ink up a piece of cardstock to have a nice colorful background for it. I chose to do Distress Oxides for this because I wanted a nice chalky look, and oxides tend to blend a little bit better than dye inks simply because they stay wet for a little bit longer, but you could easily use just plain Distress inks or whatever inks you like to blend with. I just wanted something that was nice and creamy and that had a little bit more opacity to it. But anything will work for this. I'm doing a little bit of a rainbow on the front of this card. I just wanted something nice and bright and colorful, and this is what I chose to do. I went over it one time with each one of the colors, and then I'm going back over again just to kind of blend a little bit more. I find if you go back over it a second or even a third time if you want, you just get a bit of a better blend. Some of these colors tend to blend a little bit better than others, and because these are so bright, you kind of see where it didn't blend if you don't do this. So if you're finding that you're having a challenge just doing the blending the first time, maybe go back over it and try it again, and it might help it, or likely will. Once that ink has dried, I'm taking my Betterpress plates, I'm taping that colored cardstock to the platen, and then I'm taking the Betterpress plate and putting it on the chase at the bottom. So there's a nice, really strong magnet there, so it holds in place. I don't have to worry about it moving. And actually with some of these bigger plates, it holds them so well, they're a little bit hard to move, to slide over to place, but it's okay. Now that I have everything where I want it to go, I'm taking the Betterpress ink and I'm inking the plate up on my Betterpress. Now, if you don't have the ink that comes with it, it does come with an ink cube in the starter kit, but you can use all sorts of inks. I have a video where I tested a bunch of different inks and papers. I'll link to that at the very end of this video if you wanted to check it out. I was pleasantly surprised how many different inks and papers worked really well with the Betterpress system. I absolutely love the image that you get from this. And I mentioned in that previous video that my Big Shot is very well used. So I didn't get a whole lot of pressure. I got a really nice image, but there's not a lot of indentation pressure. So what I ended up doing was taking some index stock that's either 65 or 80 pound, cutting a sheet in half, and I put it underneath my plate in my Betterpress just to tighten that sandwich a bit, and I found that it really helped. I did one sheet at a time, and I only did 2 sheets total because I don't really need a whole lot of indentation, but if you're finding that you're not getting a whole lot there, that might be something to try, but tread gently. You don't want to break anything, so a little bit at a time, just add 1 shim that's not too heavy of cardstock. Now that my background is done and the plate or the impression is there, I just took some Perfect Pearls in just the Perfect Pearl color, and I painted that. I wanted there to be a little bit of a difference in the color between the background and the butterflies. And now I took a second image that I printed off screen, and I'm coloring those butterflies with some smaller blending brushes. These are ones that I got years and years ago, that some of them work well and some of them don't. So some of them have more of a shape like the regular blending brushes that I do, but some, I think they're supposed to be for makeup actually. Some of them are really thin, narrow, and long. And those I found that I didn't have a lot of control over. The ones that have a lot of thicker bristles are a little bit easier to control, but for what I was doing, it was fine. I didn't have any other detailed blending brushes that I wanted to use with oxide ink. The ones that I regularly use, I use with dye ink, and I didn't want to mix the two and didn't want to get some new brushes when I had these ones already, so I just chose to use them. So I'm choosing colors that are a contrast from the background because I want these butterflies to stand out. I'm not going to be using all of the butterflies here that I am creating, but I want to have a large selection of them so that I can pick and choose exactly which ones to use. This Butterfly Swirl Betterpress plate also comes with a coordinating die. So I'm going to die cut them out, and there's also a coordinating die for the sentiment. I will do that sentiment off screen after I've cut out the butterflies. They're a little bit too close. I can't die cut them all at the same time because my plates would overlap each other, and that's a good way to ruin a plate. So I'm taking them, I'm taping them where I want them to go so that I know that they're not going to shift for me on my Big Shot machine, and then I'm pulling that out and then popping out all those butterflies. That background piece there, I cut down to 4 inches by 5¼ inches and put it on a white card base. And then while I have that piece drying underneath my acrylic block there, I'm just going to pick and choose which butterflies I want where on my card. I'm bending them at the body so those wings have a little bit of dimension to them. I want them to kind of pop off the card, and the best way to do that is just to give them a little bit of a bend, and then when I go and glue them down, I'm only going to glue where that bend is. They'll pretty much stick into place pretty easily. The Distress Collage medium that I'm using is nice and thick, so I find that when I do something like this, I don't have to worry about the die cuts really flopping around or flopping over to one side. They stick pretty easily where I want them to. I've got them glued into place, and I'm going to put some Stickles on the edges of the wings just to add a touch of sparkle. Now the bottle that I'm using is an old one, and it's kind of gone a little bit funky, so it's really thin, and I'm finding that it's kind of running, especially on that top butterfly. It's kind of ran on the wing, so you'll see me in a moment take a paper towel and clean that up a little bit. I'm just taking away some of the excess so that I don't have a pool of Stickles at the bottom of the wing of that butterfly. And that little paper towel worked really well. I have it under control. The last thing I'm going to do is get some glossy accents and put them on the body of the butterfly. Because I use Distress Oxides, they have a bit of a matte look to them, and I just wanted to add some shine to that. I wanted there to be a contrast between these butterflies that were on top by adding some shine and sparkle and the chalky background there. And here is the finished and dried card. I absolutely love how it turned out. I think I'm going to try this in the dye inks at some point as well, just to see the difference. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic day.